Well, hello friends! Grab a drink, some comfy pants, and make yourself nice and cozy on your couch as we go ahead and decorate this tree together. We're kicking off this look with the pipe and base kit from Shop Wildings that my friends over there were kind enough to send to me so I can make this look next level. We're also using their LED string light curtains, which are crazy gorgeous. And while we're here, let me just tell you what I did. I just flipped the curtains. Each has these beautiful strings that come pre-tied up for you. And I just flipped them on either side of the pole and just kind of letting them wrap over naturally. And then essentially the curtains are so long in a lengthwise that I could double up, making extra crazy gorgeous lighting here. So we took the string light curtains, folded them in half against the drape, and then boom, unraveled them, which was crazy easy. And don't worry, all the items I use from Shop Wildings will be linked down below so you can recreate this look in your very own home. Now, these were, I thought I was going to be tangling these or detangling them forever, but honestly, they were packaged so beautifully, and there's just something about the finish on these string lights that, like, they just don't tangle. They might get close to each other, but they pull right apart. It's amazing. I don't know what sorcery it is, but anyways, I started with those at normal height, let's say, but I need to get my drapes up, so I need to do some ironing. And this is my helper Wally. He's going to be popping in from time to time. And so since I pulled the drape kit all the way to the site, like the, let's say 9-ish foot marker that I want it to be at, I was able to go ahead and just iron and then immediately add these sheer curtain panels that I picked up from the thrift store on. So that's what 2 of them look like, just so you can get some context. And here are all of them, all on here. And I love the way that they diffuse the beautiful lights, and I think are going to add a really nice backdrop effect and more, almost, I don't want to say professional, but yeah, we're going to kind of look super fancy with this behind our tree. Now, there are so many great settings to these curtain lights that I have made a whole video, which I'll make sure you have a link to in the description down below so you can see all the different settings that these lights can be on. There's so many options. You're going to love them. But this is going to be super, super great. Even if you were just making this for a photo wall, having this is, you could be done right now and not put a tree in front of it and still be doing amazing things this holiday season. But check out that link down below if you want to see all the different settings that these cool curtain lights can do. And so it begins. Time for the Christmas tree. Now, this is my base Christmas tree that I picked up last year for Home Depot. If you look at my Christmas 2020 playlist, you can see I went through crazy detail about all the different settings this tree has. You can only use it with remote control, but I'm me, and I need to add more light. So I was kind of just assessing the lights that I had, and I don't know if you can tell, the lights at the top are like crazy fast twinkle, where the ones at the bottom are like a slower gentle twinkle. Yeah, those are SoftTwinkle lights that are my absolute favorite. Google SoftTwinkle lights. They're LEDs, and they just have the most magical, delicate glow that isn't as higher energy. Like they're just very chill lights. So we're not going to use the ones that are the fast ones. We're only going to add our SoftTwinkle lights in. And I believe there's about 4 strands that I have. Maybe it could be 4. Yeah, it's probably 4. But see how gentle these are when they're twinkling? That to me is just more relaxing, and that's what I look for on my tree. But hey, let's get them on. So this is what one strand looks like on here. So we just did the bottom and kind of wrapped them up. And I like to work from the bottom up. That's just my personal preference, just because I think it's easier to work that way. But you do you. Here's what 2 strands of the twinkle lights, or the SoftTwinkle lights look like in addition to my tree. And I currently have my tree on a warm light setting so you could see how cohesive they look with just generic, tree warm lights. So that's a whole thing. Here's the 3rd strand on, and you can tell obviously as the tree gets smaller the strands go a little further, so that's why I like to work at the bottom, just in case we get a little too heavy handed somewhere. At least we know the bottom and the larger spots covered. Plus we put a lot of stuff at the top, so I don't know that you need as many of the twinkle lights at the top. Alright, 4th layer of twinkle lights in, looking gorgeous. and this just adds a little bit extra, but you can tell we still have about 2 strands left to go for the whole top section, so we're gonna have plenty. And like I said, if you check out my Christmas 2020 playlist, you'll see a lot of detailed videos about lighting and how I put it in and the difference it makes. This is just kind of a quick clip for you guys to see, so you don't have to go check that out right this moment. So boom, all of my SoftTwinkle lights are in, and it just makes the tree look that much more magical. And there's not a special setting or anything. Like what you're seeing now is what they look like. It's gorgeous. I love the twinkle effect. All right, so let's get into it. We need Bowdabra, or at least that's what I'm using. Pick this up at Goodwill, but I'm pretty sure they're still available online at like Hobby Lobby and Joann's and those types of places. And I highly recommend you get one. I've only made 2 things with them so far, but it worked out really well. So, Bowdabra, I have some gold floral wire that I didn't really measure, but I made it about this long. It's a couple inches off of either end of the Bowdabra. And then I folded it in half, so we have a loop end, and then we have 2 loose ends. And from what I gather on the internet, it doesn't have to be an exact amount, but whatever you're attaching it to when you're done, your bow that is, you need to make sure you have enough wire to secure it how you need it. So the first things we're working on are the tails, or at least the main tails. So I am going to be using my gold champagne ribbon. And then I also have my navy blue ribbon that's ready to go, and my burgundy wired. They're all wired, but my burgundy kind of textured. And so I know a lot of people like the dovetail look. If you're into that, you just fold them at your ribbon and you cut it. I don't love the dovetail look. I think it's a little dated in my opinion. I just like a nice clean line like this. So since we're working on our tail, we're gonna do that. Now, the tail can be however long you want, but since I already know what I have on one tail on my bow that I already made, you guys just saw, I know about how long I need it on this side. Now we're gonna just loosely make them about the same. We can always trim them later, but if you really were worried and didn't want to measure, you could always just do one of these and, oh, look, this one's taller. So then you just kind of, you can slide it down, whatever makes it easier for you. This isn't a precise art, and I think the Bowdabra makes it really easy to work with. So the general consensus that I got when I was watching YouTube videos on how people put this together, if you find yourself in a situation like mine where you're using multiple ribbon, there are a lot of people just like throw the ribbon roll on the floor and then just pull it up as needed. It does get a little crazy in here, I will give you that. So just be mindful, like, you know, if you can have some space where you can roll the ribbon downs, that's fine. So what I like to do when we're starting, most of the tutorials say, you know, just make a little section like this and tuck it in, and you should, and that's fine. Just for neatness sake, I like folding it under the tip just a little bit. Nobody's really gonna see this, but what we're doing is the top side is up, but we're twisting it when we put it in. So the top side is up on our little folded side here. And then what we should be seeing is the back of the ribbon. Most ribbons, I think that I've seen, especially if you're buying them locally in the big box stores or even some of the boutique places, are one-sided. Some of the fancier ribbons and more premium ribbons that are kind of designer quality, they have a nice finish on the back. It might be matching, it might be something different, but it's important. I'm telling you that because let's say we have the bottom of the bow like this, right? So this is the inside of this bow loop. So when we take the ribbon back over, that's how, when we fold it, essentially, that's how we're getting the nice finish on the top. And then we do another twist. And that's what's continuing the cycle here. So now that we twisted it when we put it in, the bottom or the back of the ribbon is now the bottom of this loop. So when I fold the loop back, it's nice side up. If you have a double-sided ribbon, if you happen to come across one of those, this doesn't necessarily apply to you, but in my experience, those are, when I've been looking online for ribbon lately, those are fewer and far between, and it's a good habit just to have anyways. So you can see that we just did one loop on each side of the red, the burgundy. I'm loosely folding up just to say, okay, yep, it's about the same size. And you don't have to do that every time, but I highly recommend doing it the first loop set that you do, because this will kind of be what you're eyeballing and comparing it against in the future. So this red ribbon, we're leaving it attached. We're just moving it off to the side. And so now we're gonna work on our blue ribbon. And so I'm just gonna unfurl a little bit here. And this is a really nice, pretty ribbon. It's part of my eBay stuff that I picked up recently. It was technically from Sam's Club last year, but you know, I don't have a Sam's membership, and I couldn't find what I wanted, so I bought it on eBay. So we evened out this end just enough to fold it over, just so we have a nice, pretty finish. And I don't think it really matters what side you start on here in regards to the loop making. So I'm just gonna do this. We'll start on the other side. So now, since we did our nice twist, the bottom is down, and then when we fold it for our loop, we know how much we need to measure because our burgundy loop is already here. And then, so now we can do a twist, scrunch it down and say, okay, we made it pretty close, or oh, we need to make it a little bit bigger, which happens. Thankfully, it's wired ribbon. Not that you can't do this with regular ribbon, it's just a little bit harder from what I understand. And we're going to repeat the process. So we're just going to eyeball it. We're going to twist, squish it down. All right, and then since we're done with the blue, for now, we're just going to twist it, and we're going to have it just kind of shooting off towards the top. And then we have more of our champagne, which we have for tails. Now, you can mix and match from, I mean, honestly, whatever you have in your stash. You could do all one ribbon finish, but the reason I chose these ribbons were because the champagne is kind of a neutral. I mean, it's covered in glitter, but it's neutral. But we have this nice navy print with the gold glitter that has kind of like, it looks, to me, it looks like, what are those called? Fig leaves? I think these are fig leaves. No, it'll come to me later. There's a ginger leaf. No, not ginger leaf. I don't know. It'll come to me later. But there's a leaf that looks kind of like this. So I thought, okay, for our florals and flourishes, that would be perfect. We have burgundy, a nice texture. I didn't like too many of the burgundy printed ribbons. Not that there was a lot of them that I could find, but just a nice texture. And then we have glitter. So we have they're similar but different, but they all kind of go together. So just make sure you like the combination that you're using, but they also, like, I wouldn't recommend doing prints that are going to stack on top of each other that are going to be competing with the eye. That's all I'm trying to tell you. So keep that in mind. There's nothing wrong with some solids now and then, even if they're covered in glitter. So we just tucked the end of our ribbon here. We did a twist. So we have the bottom of this bow loop. And I think this would be easier if I threw my roll of ribbon off the table, but I want you guys to see what I'm doing on screen. So, okay, so we got the right length there. We're doing a twist. We're pushing them down. We're gonna make ourselves another loop. And obviously I'm talking and explaining while I'm doing this, but I think if I had music on or a nice Christmas movie or something, I could knock this out way quicker than the actual time on the video. So we got our first set done, nice and easy. And now we're just going to go back and pick up where we left off with the red. And the great thing is, because it's already attached, we don't have to start over if we don't want to. So I am going to treat it like we just finished this edge here. And we're going to bring it up and over and twist it while it's coming through here. And just kind of push it down. And I'm going to show you guys on the Bowdabra so you can kind of see it kind of pulls up and over. which is fine. We're making sure we're pulling things nice and tight while we're doing it. Oops. And then we're gonna make our bow. Super easy. And twist. I will say it's interesting experiencing, obviously these are different types of ribbon. You know, we got this textured burgundy ribbon here, but they're all generally, we'll say, big box store ribbons, and there's such a difference in the quality. Someday I'm going to need to get some fancy designer ribbon to see how that compares, but it's a very interesting feeling. You can definitely tell some are a little bit more sturdy than others, or wire strength is a little different. So just little tidbits. So we're going to start the blue next. We're going to bring the blue through. We're going to start at the bottom of this loop, and we're going to bring it back up and over. We're going to twist. I think I made that burgundy set just a little small this side, but that's okay. And then we did our twist. So we'll make sure our loop is nice. Okay. Trying to just do a little extra of this here. And then, all right, perfect. We'll do our twist. Oops. And so when we twist them, and let's say we're going to be moving on to the champagne one, I'm trying to make sure that the ribbon is facing decorative side down, so that way when we pull it back over, it'll be easier to work with, I think. I could be mistaken. So like, let's say, like, this is a good example. So we have the champagne, it's facing down and outwards, but we're pulling it up, and then that way we can twist it, and it'll create that extra nice bit of security there for us to make our bow even easier. Oh, did we twist? No, we did not. Twist this like this. Trying to make sure I don't make this too short. And then we're going to go this way. Twist. All right, and then I'll take this ribbon. All right, so now, just so you guys can tell, we've got two out of the three sets of each thing. So we have 2 reds on each side, 2 blues on each side, and 2 champagnes on each side. And just so you guys can kind of see, we've been compacting as we go, but we still got plenty of room. So if you wanted to make an even bigger bow, you totally could. But now we've got to do our last set. And so that brings us back to the red, the burgundy. We're going to pull it up, pull it over, just to make sure it's laying nicely. Beautiful, beautiful. All right, we got a nice size here. We're going to twist. Perfect. And then we're going to twist. Now, from what I read and watched, you can cut the ribbon here and just tuck it in. There's a lot of different ways you can finish this. I left a little bit of length on mine. Oops, it's all right, we're not done yet. And then I just kind of cut it on an angle, and what we're doing is we're just kind of creating like extra tails, because why stop at 2? And so this was a 25-foot roll from Michael's that I picked up on eBay, and just for context, you can see we used a decent portion of the roll already. Let me see if I can find what it looks like. Oh, I have another roll over here. Let me show you. So this is an unopened roll. This is the opened roll. So I will say, if you're planning on making bows, and decorating the tree. I made 2 bows, essentially, a front bow and a back bow with these. You might need to get an extra roll depending on how many loops of that particular ribbon. Oh my gosh, words. So it can't hurt to pick up an extra roll just in case. That's just my opinion. You do you. All right, so now we're gonna continue our last set of bows here. So the blue had been next in the queue, so we're gonna pull it up. We're gonna twist it so the bottom is facing up towards us. We're gonna make ourselves a nice, beautiful loop. We're gonna twist, shove it back down. We're gonna have all this beautiful glitter up there at the top of the tree, which is definitely going to be a change for me. I don't think I've ever had a bow topped tree. Have you guys? It's not something I normally would go for, but you know, sometimes we need to do something different. So this is going to be super simple. We're going to take the ribbon, loosely gauge how long of a tail I left on the red. We're going to do the same here, cutting on a nice angle. It's probably not enough of an angle. We'll come back. Let's see. We'll just fold it under if we want. Let's go on the back of the tree. I'm not super worried about it. And so that leaves us with our final strand of ribbon. That would be the beautiful gold and champagne. So we pulled it up. It's over. I feel like there's a song we can make out of this. Somebody who's more song inclined could write it for us. So we got the bow. The ribbon's got a nice loop to it. It's about the right size. We twist. We shove it in there. We do the same on the other side. Twisting, we're putting it down in here. Now you can tell some of them I made a little bit bigger than others. Oops. Okay, so now technically we are going to make a little bit of a end here. We're not going to make a tail on the top, but what I am going to do is I'm going to make like a little baby bow, bow loop, which I keep saying bow loop. So just like the tiniest little one. And this is just to be like in the center of the bow there. And then what we'll do is I'm just going to cut this straight. And what we'll do is we're going to essentially treat this like another little baby bow, except for we are going to take the ends and just roll them in and then twist it back. Boop. So then we have like a little baby center bow. And then this we can either twist, we can cut shorter, we can, you know, we can do a couple different things. But I think we're in a good spot. So let's move this ribbon out of the way here. Okay, so we're going to take our little wand, and from what I gather, they recommend, the ladies I see on the internet at least, recommend doing it both ways. And it doesn't really take much. It compresses pretty well. This is a pretty nifty little machine, but just so you guys can see, obviously we can compress it down further. I'll show you guys, but it's getting pretty full. It can definitely take more, no doubt about it. If I push it down all the way, it's barely even halfway. Let me show you this way. But that's all we need on this side of the tree. So we're gonna pull the wire, the floral wire up. And then what we do is we do not take the ribbon out. Do not take the ribbon out. But the part of the wire that has the loops, which is this one here, we take the two loose ends and thread them through, creating a knot. And again, we're not taking the ribbon out. We're pushing down with our hands, and then our other hand is going to pull that knot nice and tight. We want it to be compressed and tight, so we're pulling real hard, and that's why the floral wire is nice. Okay, feeling good about that. And then now we can pull it up. I mean, that's perfectly, like, could you imagine trying to do all this in your hand? Like, I do not have it together enough to do that. All right, so knowing that this is the front, we're gonna take the ribbon, and not that anybody's really seeing the innermost workings of the front of the bow, but nevertheless, and we are going to, we split the wires, we're bringing them around the back, and then what we do is we're going to twist them a little bit, and then we're going to do one of these, put it on its own little spin cycle here. I know it's crazy looking, and this is just securing it further. Perfect. And then we want to make sure we leave enough wire so that we can safely secure to the back of our tree. I've seen some cool apparatuses that ladies have online in regards to how they fluff their bows. You could hold them, you could get a board to hang them on, and I guess it's easier to fluff that way. I don't actually know. So for the sake of the video, I'm going to try to hold them a little bit and then also lay it down, but I'll talk you through what I'm doing. So the first thing we're doing is just getting the bottom tails all hanging in the right direction. Remember, some of these tails are coming in from directions different than the original ones. So you can see the champagne ones we did at first, and then we have the longer ones, which were only a little bit longer. So we're gonna go ahead and even that out a little bit and just trim a couple inches. I don't want them to be exactly the same, but I want them to be a little bit closer in length. So we're gonna just check our tails. There we go. Perfect. Okay, so the bottom is done. We can kind of angle the bow if we needed to. All right, so I squished it a little too hard there, didn't we? All right, here we go. Here's our front of the bow. These are the little loops that we made. Here we go. So I'm gonna just lightly, I'm not gonna worry too much about these little baby loops that we made because they're hopefully gonna get hidden mostly. But when I'm fluffing, what I'm gonna do, I'm holding it with my left hand and then I'm using my right hand. So we took one champagne loop up. So then on this side, we'll take the champagne loop down. And we'll take this navy loop up. And then we'll take this navy loop down. And what we're doing is we're just kind of balancing it out so there's not too much of the print next to each other, or we're just mixing it up a little bit. You don't obviously if you did this all the same ribbon or two ribbons, it won't be as noticeable. You don't really need to worry about it as much, but I just wanted to have a little bit of, I don't want to go so far as to say symmetry, but kind of symmetry. So we're working on fluffing from the front of the bow out. So we did the champagne one up over here. So we'll do this champagne one down. This is a pretty hardy bow. So there's 9 loops on each side for a total of 18 loops. So that's a pretty decent sized bow. I think it depends obviously on what size you make your loops. Obviously that affects the size of the bow. You probably could have gone away with making them a little bit smaller, but they're tree toppers, so we kind of want them to be dramatic, don't we? All right, so I'm just going to keep fluffing this. And then the great thing is because we made 2 bows, one for the front and one for the back, technically we can look at the bows now and say, this one turned out better. I like this one, and then we'll put this one up front. Or we have another one that looks a little bit less than perfect, and we'll put that in the back. Obviously, that doesn't work if your tree is being viewed from all sides, but if yours is like mine and maybe like 3/4 of the tree is being viewed, then you got some room to play with, right? All right, so we fluff this side. I'll just go back over here. It doesn't have to be perfect. Obviously, as you get your ladder out and you walk up the ladder and you get up there, it's going to require a little bit more fluffing once it's already secured. onto the tree or wreath or wherever you're putting this. But we just want it to be pretty darn close when it leaves the table here. And boom. Beautiful big bow that, I mean, probably took me 20 minutes or so, but most of that is because I was talking and not focusing super hard. But I like having the mixed tails at the bottom. I think that's nice contrast. It'll be nice layers. And so, yeah, we got a beautiful bow. And then let's go get this on the tree, huh? Let's take a look at this. We got our nice big fluffy bow on the front, and we have an identical bow behind it. So they're back to back, just kind of creating that full topper look. And I did put the one in the rear just a little bit higher, just so it creates a little extra dimension when we're looking at it from the front. So what I like to do before we get too crazy and heavy-handed putting things in is just put some ideas in as a proof of concept. So we have this beautiful topper, and I know I want to do something with ribbon and make these beautiful corkscrew curls on here. So we're just going to do like a little 2-loop bow with a poinsettia and some ribbon and just kind of put that on the tree and see how that looks. Plus, we need to put our flourish on and see how that looks. But let's look at this part first. So we put a poinsettia in, we have a nice corkscrew curl ribbon. Okay, that looks good. I like the direction that's going. So now we can proceed with the next thing that's important with our florals and flourishes, our flourishes. And look at how great this is. Now this isn't finished and wired and everything, but we just have a nice gold finish on it. We're just checking it out to see how it looks on the tree, if there's enough contrast, and especially with the topper, it looks great. I like the direction. So now we can continue. Okay, now we start the picks for the top element. Now, I personally think it's best to start with the top because that's where your eyes tend to go naturally. So I want to make sure I have nice big picks up there that have nice wispiness, and my helper is still on standby, but it's getting late. And so we're just going to try and knock out this topper and start 1 or 2 picks at a time. So you can see I got this beautiful champagne pick in. It's got this beautiful airiness to it that has a lot of just volume in your, just how you're spatially processing it. We're adding some burgundy tips in. We have some amaranth that's starting that cascading effect. And a little this, a little that, some orchids, some more poinsettias, and boom, look at that. The top is already coming together. Now this is a very unusual tree topper in the sense that we have ribbon, we have flowers, and we have sprays, so we got a little bit of everything. But what we're trying to make sure is the top looks good, so when we add things like this ribbon in for that cascading effect, it looks like it's coming out of this beautiful almost fountain at the top. So I'll show you in better detail in a moment here just how these corkscrews are made, but I just want to show you in this moment when we're working on the topper how easy it is to add little pieces of ribbon in just to have them cascade out, and you never know, they just get put in there. And that's why I like starting at the top, so you kind of work from the top of the tree, we'll say downwards mostly. So I think it's looking really beautiful. We have our beautiful red magnolia that's like a premium designer one with beautiful like burgundy hues and lots of beading in them that just look gorgeous. Okay, so let's talk about these corkscrew ribbons that we're doing. Now this is just for visual purposes. Your length may vary, but essentially we just twisted all of that up, rolled it up, and then what we're doing is we're pulling on the end of the roll with our about 2 fingers in there. And what we're doing is we're trying to tighten this roll as much as possible. Now the secret to this is the wired element of this ribbon. See how every little pinch that I do with my thumbs, it kind of compacts that wire down and trains it to that curled effect. And that's all there is to it. Now you can fold the edges just for formality purposes, make them nicely finished if you'd like, but this is going to get tucked into the tree, so you don't have to worry about it. You do want to make sure the end is nicely finished, whether you like a dovetail or a nice angled edge, whatever makes sense for you. And I tend to fold my ribbon edges over a little bit. For some ribbons, just I think it looks a little bit nicer, but if you have a sheer ribbon like this, you might not necessarily need that. Totally depends on the thickness of the ribbon that you're using, and if you're worried about frays. Now you can see the inside of the ribbon I'm holding on to, and we're just gently shaking the curls out. You could be more delicate than me probably, but it's late and it seemed like a good idea at the time. But we're just gently letting these curls come out without pulling on them too hard. So for those of you with curly hair like me, you kind of know exactly what I'm talking about, and those of you who don't, it's a very easy, delicate process, but you'll get it. I believe in you. So once you have them uncurled, this is very springy, and it depending on where you get your ribbon, I have figured out that the curls are going to hold differently, but it's not super important. Now and that's getting into the tree. We're just twisting the end together because it's wired, right? So we went ahead and hid it behind this magnolia, so it kind of looks like it's coming out from behind the magnolia. And then we can just gently drape it down our tree. And because of the branches on the tree, we can help layer the curls in so they get a little bit of hidden support. Now, this is just a quick close-up example, but you can see how the champagne ribbon looks like it's just billowing out of the tree. So I threw a few more pieces in just so you guys can kind of see what it looks like, but right now we're kind of playing with the lengths and using the amaranth to start getting that cascading look. So you can see some blue amaranth in there, you can see some burgundy amaranth in there, and now that you're seeing a little bit more ribbon in there, you can start to see the cascading effect coming through. Very gorgeous start to the tree. Hello, Wally. You helping me? Okay, friends. So we're back to normal daylight hours. And I'm really thrilled. I woke up this morning and saw how the tree turned out after my midnight decorating session. And I thought before I keep moving forward, let me show you what it looks like. And what I really love about the kind of curled ribbon is it definitely has that flourish effect I was going for, and it held its shape really well because it's wired, but also because we layered it kind of into the branches just so it got some support. It doesn't necessarily, it's not like completely just falling, kind of free falling, if that makes sense. So really thrilled about that. And I'm glad I added some of the amaranths in that also have that kind of cascading effect because it's helped me kind of layer the ribbon. So I don't know if you guys can see better now that it's daylight or not, but the top is done. Like, I love the top. We'll do a close-up here in a second, but when I'm putting these ribbon tendrils in, I'm kind of putting them in like groupings of 3, sort of. So we're kind of layering them. So we got the red, the burgundy, we got the navy, and then we got the champagne. So we're kind of working on that throughout. Right, Wally? Wally's mad that I'm not petting him right now. And I just wanted to so we did 2 toppers. We did a bow on the front and a bow on the back. We've got some tendrils, and that's really as far as we've gotten so far. And I mean, these are pretty heavy, not heavy, but by pretty thick bows. I mean, they worked out to be what? 6 loops on each side. I can't remember. It's been a minute. But I put a little bit of ribbon on the back. I started the ribbon on this side here. I put a little bit on the other side, but not as much. So this side will probably get a little bit more ribbon. But I don't know. I don't think it really needs that much, but I do want to put like just a little bit in the back here. But with the 2 bows and the ribbon that's up on the topper in that bow, I used 1 full roll, one full roll of this champagne wired glitter. So about 30 feet, so 3, 10 yards. So I used 10 yards of this, and I used all of my burgundy. I used 1 whole roll of burgundy, and then I did tap into the second roll. And I think these are only 25, so slightly less than the champagne rolls, but probably about the same given how much we've used so far. So we're going to use a little bit more. And then the blue, I mean, it's kind of hard to tell how much I used, but I would imagine it's about the same. But this is a 50-yard roll, so it's crazy big. So we got a lot done last night. And so today, right now, my next step is continuing on with any of the hanging elements, the tendrils and stuff that are going to be just kind of draping. So anything that's going to have that draping effect, because we want the cascade kind of in play. So your eyes just kind of flowing through. And so we're going to put a little bit more. I don't anticipate putting too much more cascade in the front. We'll do a little bit on the side here, and just kind of go from there. So I'm going to set the camera up on the tripod, and we'll put this in a faster setting so you don't have to watch everything in real time, and we want it to be a little bit faster. But I just wanted to show you guys how the tree looks now that there's actual daylight out. So these are those beautiful navy sprays that we put in. These are some of our thrift store finds. We got some berries in there, and the berries, those are interesting because they don't have any actual, like, we'll say glitter or icy effect or anything on them, but they're kind of matte. But I think that's actually kind of great, because same with this burgundy amaranth, I could have sprayed it and added glitter like I have here with this one that I bought that's from my pile last year, but I thought I liked the contrast that they offered and the change in textures, and we don't have too much that isn't glittered, so I think a little bit here and there won't hurt. We interrupt this tree decorating for a quick puppy break to make sure they have all of the treats, and so they can play with each other and have a good time and not be in the way. So I went ahead and just added a few more of the amaranth in front, and I just want more of a cascade look. And so I don't want to caution you, but something that I struggle with in floral arranging, and I think a lot of people make this mistake too, but you just get so excited, I tend to push my arrangement pieces in deeper, because in my mind I'm like, oh, they'll be more secure, and that is true to a certain extent. But if they go in too deep, you almost lose the dimension that you're trying to add. So for pieces like these that are going to be pretty sturdy, don't push them too far into the tree. Let them shine, let them be out in front, because we want lots of different dimensions available. And so if you push them too far in, you're just going to lose a lot of the emphasis here. So I do have a few more of my blue amaranth left. I'm not going to put them in just yet. I'm going to wait. I have so much stuff that needs to go in this tree, or I want to put in this tree. So now that we got the top done, I always do that first. We have a clear vision of the transition between the top and the bottom with all of our ribbon. It's nice and curled. And then to kind of help that look continue a little further, we have the cascading elements. So now a lot of the picks that we're going to use are things like these poinsettias that I have here. I have plenty of those. I have these berries that are gorgeous that need to be fluffed, but they're going to go in. I got all sorts of stuff. I have piles of champagne. I do have some green amaranth that I was considering putting in just for like that pop of brightness. A little bit here and there. I'm not sure it needs that just yet. We'll see. Although I do kind of like it kind of close to the other stuff, but maybe we put it a little bit higher. That's kind of fun. Okay, well, we'll just put those in while we're here. These are gorgeous. This is a few stems. I only have, I think, 5 stems of these and 5 stems of the burgundy as well. But I think now's a good time. So I found the other blue ones over here, and I'm just putting one in there, and then you see a spot over here that could use just a pop of green. And so the point with the green, the reason I have a little bit of green was just because if I did an emerald green or a forest green, it's going to get lost in here because the tree is green. But I wanted the green as a pop of just like brightness, a little freshness, just because we have a lot of really rich colors between like this navy rich blue, the burgundy, the champagne. It's just a lot. So the green is just enough little freshness, in my opinion, to just liven things up a little bit. So we have one here, one here, one here. Kind of want to stick one down here towards the bottom. I'm liking this. And I don't mind that the drape is kind of next to each other, because I think that's like, that's kind of part of the look, right? So I don't mind. So they're not right next to each other, but they're only maybe a little bit separated in height or whatever. Okay, well I guess that's all of our green. Right, Wally? Wally, you helping me? You helping me? What are we doing? Are you gonna pick out these flowers? So taking a step back and looking at it, I love the green. I'm glad I put it in. So do what you think is best. Most of the time it'll probably work out. And the important thing to remember is, doesn't matter what I say, doesn't matter what the professionals say, as long as you like it, that's what matters. Okay, so what are we gonna do next? I have so many picks here I need to work through. So I have lots of red, lots of champagne, mostly burgundy, but I do have some that were supposed to be burgundy that ended up being a little red, but that's okay. So pieces like these that are the magnolia leaves, I like them a lot because they have that negative space in them with all of the essentially the cutout portions of the leaves, but visually they take up a lot more space than, let's say, something like this. This, you know, just you can see through differently. It just is a different effect that you're going for. Nothing is wrong or anything. So make sure everything is fluffed before you put it in, and then you can just, it could be as simple as something like that, where it just slides beautifully in and you're done. Now last year, when I bought these orchids originally, which are gorgeous, I love them, and they had a beautiful magnolia leaf that I used as the background on them essentially, and it was like a gold, there was some copper, almost a little patina effect, and that contrast was really helpful against the branches because the branches are so dark, the navy is dark, and so if I just had taken this and put them in, it's still beautiful, it's just a lot more subtle because the contrast just isn't there. So, and for picks like these, if you decide to go the navy route, I highly suggest getting something reflective or glittery as a layered back piece or background piece to this. And what I'm doing while I'm talking, by the way, is just these were in storage, so they get a little squish. So I'm just opening those petals back up just a little bit. So this year, I thought about just leaving them in, and I might leave some in just like that. And there's nothing wrong, especially because I have it sticking a little bit further out, so there's not as much around it for it to get lost into, so that's an option. Or I do have things like these picks that I just picked up recently. If you guys are curious to see where I get all my goods, definitely make sure to check out my hauls. However, this particular video has many wonderful pieces from Shop Wild Things, which you've already probably heard me talking about, but they have a lot of great picks and stuff. And if you guys missed the first part of the video, all that backdrop, all from them. The lights, the kit, it's gorgeous. They have piles of curtains in all sorts of different colors. Okay, so now that this has been fluffed out lightly, not too much. Normally I put a little bit more shape in here, but given that I know I'm layering things, what I can do as an option is I can take both my orchid and this beautiful leaf. I think this is an olive leaf branch. It's in a champagne, but it has a little bit of holographicness, glitter to it. And so I can put these together if I wanted to. So just showing you some options, and I can essentially treat them both like one big piece, and I can layer them into the tree together if I wanted to. So that way there's a little bit more contrast. And you can see the blue a little bit better. It's definitely your call if you think you want that focus to be on the navy or not. So I'm going to go ahead and I'll leave this here, and then I'll take another one of my orchids. And then, you know, like most things, whether you had these in storage like I did or you ordered stuff online, everything kind of gets compacted and shipped in and storage. So just spending a few seconds to just fluff everything out before you put it on is going to change the look quite a bit. So now, like with this one, if I wanted to, I could just bend it ever so slightly, and I could put it in like this, and because it's sticking out, I don't need as much contrast with it. So we see another way so you can kind of see what we're looking at here. And then in fact, let me just bring you guys in a little bit closer so you can see even better. All right, so what are we looking at here? Here is the one that we just lightly tucked into the tree, and you can tell, oops, that it's sticking out quite a bit. Whereas, let's see, I'll adjust the camera ever so slightly. This one has a little bit more of a statement element to it because it's layered in there. So this year, I prefer not to layer them in because the point of this tree is florals and flourishes, and the floral is going to speak for itself because I have an absurd amount of floral picks that are going on this tree this year. So I don't want that look with this blue layered on this champagne. Wrong with it, just not where I'm going for this year. So I'm going to take that out. And then I do want to make sure I use a lot of my orchids, but I kind of want to show you guys before I start the next element what I'm working with and kind of my thought process, because there are a lot of picks that you can't see right now. So we have beautiful picks and arrangements. We have these burgundy glitter with a little bit of green. We have some of these nice berries that are burgundy with a little bit of silver, which isn't my favorite, but I appreciate them. These are hydrangeas from Shop Wild Things, and they're not quite dark enough for the look that we're going for just yet, but I'm keeping them around because they, see, I'll put it right next to it. See, they're a little, like this is a little bit more red. That's the burgundy we're trying to match. So I might be using them. Still figuring it out. I have these little picks that you saw a second ago. Oops, of course they got layered. These are the picks from Boys and Girls Club that we glitterified. We have lots of burgundy poinsettias. We have more berries that need some fluffing. I have the non-glitter berries, and then I have more of this burgundy and gold that we use a lot of at the top. So we have a lot of that. And then over here we have navy orchids, amaranth, and these I'm not committed to using. I just got these in a grab bag clearance at Michael's last year. I got some beautiful blue, I think this is eucalyptus, and then I got these kind of like spiky things that are navy. So I got a lot of navy, and then we have all of our champagne. This is the more true champagne. This is a little bit lighter champagne that I am going to layer in because it does match the ribbon pretty well, but we'll do that a little bit. We have the nice frilly champagne. We have the similar, those like fuzzy spiky things. We have those, that's what their official names are. And then we have these beautiful orchids, and these are actually from Shop Wild Things, and they were kind enough to send them to me, and I thought they were just perfect because there's burgundy dark accents in these with the green. And I was like, half of my colors are pretty much here, so that's gonna probably go in later on. And then I do have just some random green, like apple green sprigs that I've kind of collected over the last year that I'm gonna pop in as accents, but I don't want it to be the dominating color. We want that navy and burgundy to shine really beautifully. So right now I'm focusing on picks that are larger, like these, this one, some of the berries that we've been working with, because they take up more space and are going to be kind of the hamburger bun, if you think of it, that the smaller picks that you want to pop even more need that backdrop on, potentially. So I'm going to be working those in. So the first one I decided to go with was my biggest branch, which was more of these that I picked up from the thrift store. And so they're perfect because they have a little shine to them. They're burgundy, they're gold, so I can put these in as the base in some of these areas, and then as I layer more picks in, not necessarily directly on top, but nearby, they won't be competing too much with this. So, here we go. Let's see. So it's a little nerve-wracking when you do the first one or two, because you're like, I don't know if I did that right. You can't really do it wrong, especially the first one. So you can always take a step back and go, yep. Because what I want this tree to have is lots of dimension and textures and shapes coming out of the tree. So that's why we're not pushing these all the way in. So I do want to put another one of these over here because I really like them. And I think they're going to look really nice next to the ribbon. And then I have another one ready to go. So we have one here, one here. Maybe we put another one in over here. A little bit more of an angle coming up and out. This one I'll push a little bit further in since there's a lot coming out over here already. And then, let's see, we got some there. I think we need one over here. A lot of the design pros will say when you're using floral picks, which is where it gets a little crazy because like this pick does not have the same emphasis and a tree is like this pick, but usually they say that one, you know, you're trying to diversify, right? Like you want a lot of different types of stems, but just so you know you don't get too few, they say that you could get one stem per foot of tree. So 7.5 foot tree, you could use about 7 stems from the top down, not including the topper, but like just in general, and that could be potentially enough for you. I think it really comes down when you're shopping to what you find that works with your style, because right now with my theme, Florals and Flourishes, floral is obviously what we're focusing on, so we want more variety, but we don't necessarily need a whole bunch of each. But we also don't want too many, so it's that there's a balancing act that you need to think about. Also keeping in mind, while I'm putting these in the tree, I'm looking to see where like my ribbon is and what is in the area that I don't want covered up or I know in the future I'm going to be adding to. So for example, I'm going to put this branch in here. Oops, there we go. And then I'm going to bend it just a little bit so it has that a little bit of a cascade, not too much, but a little bit. And then, just keeping in mind, I already just did the test run, one of the flourishes up here, but I know that like we're going to work more in. So keep in mind, like if you have something like these or special ornaments that you're going to want to be focusing, I recommend having them on hand so you can just kind of like, you don't necessarily want to hang them right now, but you might want to just like layer them on and be like, okay, cool, I like where this is going, this is going to be a good spot for them. Just a tip to keep in mind. I'm going to do another one of these over on the other side. Over here, and just pull the tags off. I wish I could say that everything goes back in these lovely bags that they ship in when I'm done, but could you imagine doing that for this many stems? So just showing you guys how easy it is to fluff things out. It only takes seconds, you know, or probably less than a minute, less than 30 seconds. But now this branch, even though it was a $2 branch from the thrift store, already takes up so much more space compared to that tight sleeve it was in. So we've got some here, we've got some here. I'm gonna go over on this side because I want to make sure, even though nobody's really coming over here, you're still gonna see that, and I think you guys can even see it from the camera, which is kind of a central location in our house. So even though nobody's coming over here, it's still kind of in that line of sight. So I'm gonna stick this branch here, and see how there's a spot, and you'll know it when you feel it, but it's just enough where you can tell when you take your hand out, it's steady, it's balanced. You don't need to shove it in, but it's just delicately balanced here, so that way it has that nice effect. Okay, puppies are still working on their stuff. What are you boys doing? Are you fighting? They're fighting over their toys that we gave them earlier. Okay, so that's kind of nice. We'll angle it down just a little bit because I do like that kind of like drapey look. All right, so we got a few of those in right now. 1, 2, 3, 4. We got about 5 or 6 of them in, and I don't think I need to add more just yet. So we're gonna leave those be for a minute. And then I want to focus on some of these because these take up a lot of space. They're also matte finished, but this has the burgundy that we want and the little pops of green. So I'm going to add these in next. And I don't really have anything else with like this small cluster berry look to them. So that'll be a nice addition. Now, what you do in the order you put it in, you do you. But I will say, think about, like, see how we have one here? So the next one we put in was off and over to the right a little bit. So we don't want them in a row. We also probably, especially for floral picks, don't want to create like diamond. We want to create a diamond shape, but like not necessarily like a super obvious one, if that makes sense. So we want to space things out a little bit. So they're not, we want it to be beautiful and organic, but you got to think about it a little bit. So we got this nice little cluster here, and I'll probably layer some other pieces next to it so it's not just so by itself. And then because that one is here, I'm thinking over here we can put another one. And then just to help show you guys, don't be afraid to bend your florals. That's why you pay to have the wire and the silk, so you can do stuff you can't do as easily with fresh flowers. I mean, besides the cost and all that stuff. Okay, so we got some berries, some berries. I want to have a little berry moment over here. And then just keep it in mind, I think, yep. So sometimes you just gotta put some music on and rock out, and you'll see it come together. And when the branches are pretty empty like this right now, it's super easy just to lift them up and put things in if you don't want to shove them in. And then I'm going to take one more for now. And side note, when I'm working on my tree, and anybody asks me for advice, I always tell them, you gotta make it what you want it to look like, right? Like, what's the cool thing for you? So for me, there's 2 parts of the tree that I care a lot about. The topper, because for me, it's that like statement piece that kind of sets the tone for the tree. Because once your eyes start going over the tree, in my opinion, if you did it right, your eyes should constantly be gazing, like you want them to naturally travel, right? Like that's part of the enjoyment of looking at the tree. But I also have puppies, we have kids over from our friends' kids. I like to sit on the floor. So you want the tree to look good from like the floor height as well. So always make sure you have just a little bit of something on the bottom of the tree. I know it's easy to be like, oh, nobody looks at the bottom of the tree. I bet there's a good chance you do. And it's a nice opportunity. Even if you end up filling it with presents and stage decor, whatever, I think putting a few picks at the bottom goes a long way. Okay, small tangent over. So we got berries here, we got berries here. So I'm feeling like we can have we can kind of actually have, I want some over here. I'm feeling like this is a good spot because these are a little bit higher up. I am bending a little bit harder. So we're gonna just have like a little berry next to the amaranth here. Actually, I'm gonna move it a little bit down because now we have this blue amaranth and then this berry, and then we have this like amaranth and burgundy. So it's kind of like a nice natural like flow for your eyes. And then I think we're gonna need another one down there. So we're just gonna do a quick fluff. If time allows, I highly recommend you fluff ahead of time so you can just grab and go, but that takes up a lot of space and time potentially, depending on what your situation is. So I get it if you can't. All right, so we got a berry, we have a berry, we have a berry. So I kind of want one like just on the edge over here, just to stick out a little bit, but maybe a little bit higher. Nope, no, nope. A little bit lower. This is it. Perfect. So now we kind of have this like multi-dimensional layer back here, which is growing, which is important, people. It really is. Okay, let's see. Hey, Wally, how's it look? It look good, Wally? Wally says maybe. You like it? What's the matter? Does it smell good back there? What's going on? Hi, big guy. You like the tree? You like my tree? Yes, you do. Yes, you do. Okay. All right. So, what do we put in next? I want to put in a little bit of brightness. So we put in a lot of darker elements. So I just want to play with that a little bit. So I'm going to be pivoting over to these picks that we brought out earlier ever so briefly. Like I said, and you saw, these are a little bit more of a brighter champagne color. They're a little bit more, I would say blonde champagne, whereas I think some of the other champagne that I already had was a little bit, we'll say like a honey champagne. Let's get it all bougie with our champagne colors. But I want to make sure we're keeping up with like the brightness. I don't want everything to get too lost and dark in here. So like immediately I see like this spot in here, I kind of want to just layer this in. And that's pretty close, not quite on top, but pretty darn close to this one. But it's just ever so slightly off-centered, which I kind of like a lot because then we put something on the other side. And we probably, let's be honest, we probably will. I only bought 5 of these because I just wanted to play with them, and then I ended up not getting more. But honestly, sometimes they add up, and if you can only buy things in like 5s, I don't think it's that big of a deal. Especially if you're building your collection over several years, and you know that it's a theme that you're going to keep building out. I don't see why not. I'm just going to stick one over here. I need some sparkle down there. Perfect. And then we got our last one. And like I said, we're just gonna cut off the tags, which is really great. Some of them you can't pull off, so just be careful on your first one. And then we're just gonna take a minute and step back and look at our tree while we fluff. And now there's a few, like, so I'm not sure you guys can tell really easily on the camera, but there's a spot down here that I really need to fill, and there's a spot up here that I'm like, it keeps eyeing me, and I'm like, okay, we need to fill that. So we'll probably be working over there soon. And so if you're seeing that and you're like, hey, there's a spot, I know. I don't really want to put this too far down. I feel like I have enough of them down there already, but I do kind of want to add this. Yep, perfect. That's what I wanted. Oh, that looks cool. Okay, so what do we do for those spots? We got a few spots that you can tell are a little bit more in them. Well, we can do something like these berries, which I think might be a nice texture change. We talk about textures a lot in this tutorial and in general because it's more interesting for your eye. So let's play with this and see how we feel about this. There's kind of a lot going on over here. So, ooh, I kind of like that. That's kind of fun. Then we just need a little sprig of something in there. Like, let's see, should we put one of these in there? These are kind of heavy, but they're small. But let's see if it makes sense. So they're harder to bend. I'll just like pop them in as like a little something. That's kind of fun. I like that. So it's like got this nice layered thing. We got this premium magnolia, leftover maybe orchids, clearance, end of season clearance, reuse from a different project. Like, this is great. But I love this. See, this is kind of what I'm doing for. We have lots of florals. We got some literal flourishes, some fancy wood flourishes that are going to be accenting in. So I kind of like that. What I want to emphasize, part of the reason I like it is because we have, this is about how far out this goes. This gold piece goes about this far. The orchid goes this far, and the berries go this far. So just in this one spot here, we have play on dimensions, which is really great. We have different colors, we have textures, but it's a lot, but it's not too much because it just all works and flows together. So we're gonna keep going. I do have these for my champagne stuff that I do have, which are great. I love the wispy stuff. Like this is my jam. So I have a bunch of those that I got, which are great. I love them. And part of the reason I got them was because, so they compact nice. They're very wispy and airy, but I have these littler ones that I got locally at a big box store, and then these are like the designer ones that I got at the end of Christmas last year, 2020. And they go together, but this is just, you need a lot more of these, and these are better at the top, where these I can figure out how to work in throughout the whole tree. So we'll be using both, but I think we just need a little bit more champagne in our life right now. Yay! We did put the champagne a little bit closer together, and that's fine because that's what I want. I want a lot of the champagne, but those bigger picks I focused on the bottom, so that way these smaller ones that we spoke about earlier can kind of go in at the top. And the top isn't technically completely done, but we can throw a little bit. I mean, it's done, but we can put a little bit more in some of these types of places here because I really like that kind of billowing look. So I want to make sure we keep that up at the top especially. So we'll put that in just for balance now. And because these are so small, I don't mind that they're closer to each other. All right, well this is going really well. I think we need to add more of our berries in because they're a little bit bigger. So, and by berries I mean these here, these big ones. I really like these. I do have some that I'll show you guys in a minute, we saw them earlier, that have like that silver to them. I'm not sure we're gonna end up using them. I really like them, but I don't think I don't know, we'll see how they fit in here. So we're just gonna pick one, left, left. I kind of like the berries near the berries, even though they're different types of berries. I don't mind putting stuff in that's not 100% perfect fit, but I just don't want it to distract from the stuff that we're really focusing on. So maybe we'll put it over here. There we go. They're okay. There's nothing wrong with them, they just don't go perfectly. But they do have nice contrast on them. And lots of beautiful branches to play with. So we'll just put these more on this side for right now. Maybe we'll do a little bit here. Because I wouldn't probably put these berries right here because we already kind of have them right close to each other. But I can put this little burgundy kind of red pick over here near these, just for more glitter. You can never have enough glitter. I'm gonna put a few more of these in, at least one more. So I was looking at it and I was like, you know, I think we need just a little bit more over here because there's, I don't know, I thought there was more. There's one here. I think we need another one. Just, you know, we'll put it towards the bottom. And then I do want to add my blue picks as well. I haven't forgotten about them. They're going in. These are really easy to fluff too because there's just a few stems on them. They're not the super fancy ones. But I do want to just kind of make sure we're layering them in. I do want to focus on the pieces that I know I want in there for sure. So that includes some of these poinsettias. So I'm going to start working them in. So we need to have florals. So I'm just kind of layering them where I think they need to be. And then I'll probably add elements around them, obviously. So I have my last two glitter berries, the ones that I really like. So I want to make sure those get put in spots that highlight them and we don't lose them. Because I really like these. They're beautiful burgundy finish glitter. So they're that darker red, which I really like. So last one, where are we going to put? So we have some here, some there, some at the bottom, one over here. I think we already put, we have one here. Okay, well I don't see one over here. So this is the elevation of this one. So I think maybe like this area is gonna be good. You know what though? No, let's put this up here. Somewhere we can really enjoy it. We'll kind of let it fall alongside our little flourish here. Oh, that's nice. I'll show you guys that later. It looks real cool. Okay, so we're windowing down some of the bigger pieces that we need to use and fill in. Point where we can start adding some of these in. So these are very similar. I'll show you. First, these have little heads. So these are more narrow. These are from Decorator's Warehouse, I believe. I'm not sure if they still have them. They are on clearance at the time or on sale. These are a little bit thinner than these champagne ones that I have. But I think these are, if we shape these right, they're going to help add to that cascading look that we want. That's kind of nice. So it's a nice contrast with all of the other champagne there, just to have a little bit more of the dark popping out. I don't, we did this earlier where we had we put one in here. And it's okay if they're coming out, but I think when they're higher up, you don't want them protruding out as much. So I'm just going to throw these in just to make sure we're balancing some of the blue in areas that have already been worked on a little bit. So I'm kind of eyeing the spots that I already put the champagne tendrils, or that's what we're calling them, just to make sure there's always a nice mix of the champagne and the navy and the burgundy together. Step back a little bit too crazy. So what we'll do is we'll bend them a little bit and we'll put it in more of an angle. There we go. That's much better. Need a little bit over here. We'll find the right spot. Oh, you know what? Here. So when I'm looking at this, I'm stepping back, I can see clear clusters of areas that I've worked on, and then some areas where I haven't. So I can do a few things. I can start focusing on those clusters, or I can keep kind of expanding out the ones that I already have. But I know that there are some pieces that haven't really gone in yet that I really want to go in, and those are my statement magnolias. Those are, oh, I love these magnolias. I got them from Miss Casey's Wonderland, and I only got a few because they're very expensive, but these are beautiful, beautiful magnolias. And I mean, they're the right like burgundy red where they have a few tones in them. We have one of them up here. I got 3 small and 3 mediums, so I want to make sure that these are put in spots that are featured, so we really don't lose them, because they're gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. And it's pieces like these that when you get them and you're just so impressed by the quality of them, and then when you start with, like, these are going to store so well. They fold up, they're beautifully made, definitely worth it. If I had more money, I would buy all of them, to be honest with you. So I want to make sure these are featured. So looking around where I can put them, they also take up a decent amount of space as well. These are a little bit more heavy, so I can't just throw them in quite as easily. Okay, that's really nice. So we got some going on there. So this is my, I believe, last medium-sized one. So we have one here, one a little bit higher. So I'm going to do another one over here. I kind of feel like, I don't want to put it exact. Okay, this is, oh yeah, that's good. We're going to just make sure we angle it up a little bit. Yep, that's perfect. Yep, I'm not going to get better than that. So I have 2 more magnolias. These are the smaller ones, so we're going to try and focus them a little bit higher up. They're absolutely gorgeous. So we got one here, kind of thinking in this area. I love almost the literalness of the florals and flourishes so close to each other. I think that's perfect. All right, last one. I know I should probably put it on the left, but just given how few of them I have and how much I love them, if I find another spot that I think really flatters them, I'm gonna do that. So let's see, where can we put this? I kind of want to have one down here, but let me look on this side because I am going to be sitting over here quite a bit. I think this needs to be up here. Yep, I was totally right. It does. I'm just going to angle it so you can see it. Oh, I'll show you guys this side. Don't worry. I promise I will show you. It looks so good though. Oh, okay. Okay, that's so exciting. I want to make sure that we feature them and they don't get lost in everything else. So making sure that there's this nice champagne or something next to them that offers a little bit of contrast is going to help make them stand out a little bit more. So I'll probably be layering in more champagne closer to them as we move forward. Now I only have this one. I only have a few of these sprigs left. So I want to make sure we use them in spots that make sense. Although technically I only bought like 5, I don't think so. I don't want to put them too close to the blue ones. Oh, you know what? One of the nice things about working with these colors, and it's not necessarily these colors, but because I have 3 colors, there's always a trio of colors that you can have next to each other and say, okay, I have a burgundy navy, let's bring in some of this champagne just so, you know, balance it out and make it pop. So that's why we chose these colors, right? So they complement each other. So those flourishes that we were talking about earlier, look how easy it is to attach them on. Now I've got a whole tutorial video showing you just how I glued on the wiring and everything, but it's just, there's nothing crazy. We're gluing wire on the back of these appliques, and then because they're wired, we put them on the tips of the branches, and we just make sure the flourishes are just tilted ever so slightly so they catch the light, and now they look like they're part of the tree. And I don't know if you can tell, but we got a few different shapes and sizes and angles, and then we just mixed them in a little bit here, a little bit there. You can see this beautiful kind of feathery flourish, and to me it's these little accent pieces like this that are kind of nestled in the tree that really help make it look special and unique, because how many other people have gold flourishes wired into their tree, right? So you could be part of that cool kids club if you'd like. I'll make sure the tutorial is down below so you can see exactly how I made them, but they're super simple. And they go really well with the Florals and Flourishes theme, which is what this is all about. How you think our tree's looking, Mr. Mousse? Have you even bothered to look at it? No, you've been busy getting bets. Yeah. Florals are done. Some of the flourishes are in. And now we need to get to the ornament section. But first, quick puppy break with Mousse, who's just like, I need some love. This is Mousse. He's our little puppy. He's only a little past a year right now. And he is checking out the big shatterproof, almost hammered looking ornaments. I think they're great. I only got a few of them because I only need a few big ones, but I nestled those in first because I do typically try to put the bigger ornaments first because, well, they're bigger. The next biggest ones that I have are these gorgeous textured, almost tufted looking onions. So now we have those beautiful onions, the giant ones and the spheres. Those are all on. We kind of spaced them out a little bit, so we have some onions all over, but you can see them. They definitely have those pops. I didn't want to put, I know there's a spot here and here that needs some love, but I didn't want to put too much of the dark burgundy next to each other. So with that being said, the next thing I want to look at putting in are some of the not leftover, but the champagne ornaments that I got for my tree last year, and I think we can use those. I have these that are just like straight glitter that I could put deep in the tree if I wanted. I also have these that are a little bit more glam. So I have the solid, and then I have these with the stripe. So I'm going to stick with the bigger ones for now, and I might actually double up. So like what I'm thinking is taking this champagne one, and I'm sure you guys have seen this done before, where essentially we literally, it's not even hooked on anything, we just shove it in there. So that's like, because there's holes, you know, naturally in the trees, so that's just kind of like filling it in the background when it's like really deep in there. So like technically we could take another one, or here, let's see, yeah, we'll take another one here. We can, like, you know, we can put it way back in here. And then that's just more shimmer and shine if we wanted that. So that's an option we can do. I have more of these. I also have the blue. I have blue ones we can do this with as well. So like, let's say over here, if we wanted to like really make this area full, I could leave that there. I don't want to do that because I have other ornaments that I think are going to help fill in some of those spots. But if you get to the point where you're like, I need, like, one ornament is not going to cut it, consider just taking some of these, not that they're not special, but they're just more, I don't know, hidden, we'll call them hidden ornament type material. And then that way, you can have, you know, it's not, everything's not just on the edge of the branches. There is some in the depth of the tree. I did more ornaments on my tree last year than I did this year. So this year I focused on, obviously, the florals. So that was my main emphasis this year. So I don't have as many ornaments, and I doubt I'll use all the ones here that we took out and are getting ready to use. But I just wanted to show you guys, like, shoving them in and then putting another ornament in front of them. There is nothing wrong with that. So that being said, let me show you what I think is going to go in front of that ornament. All right, there it is. We added one of our nice green finials. It's just small, but it's that nice pop of green that we need to be working in. We'll put the florals in last, but I wanted some of the green ornaments to be throughout the tree before I put the green florals in, just so we could make sure there was an adequate number of greens represented here. But I love that pop of green in there, just subtle enough to catch your eye, but not be too much. So we're going to go ahead and add just a few more ornaments. I'll show you guys. I'm going to probably mix some of these around, but we've got still quite a bit left of that we're going to be adding in here. So really excited to be playing with these. All right, can you tell anything's different? I will be mad if you can't. But what I did do was I took the blue ornaments that we had. I had some red, they were like a darker red. They weren't quite burgundy ornaments that were just glitter finish. And I took the rest of the champagne ones and I just tucked them in the tree. You can barely even see them, but it's just, like I said, getting that depth covered in the tree so everything isn't necessarily just seen on the outside. And so we're kind of at this great point where there's so much stuff on the tree where I have ornaments that I want to add, like especially these awesome ones that I picked up from my estate sale finds not too long ago. I guess it was a kind of a little while ago, but either way, I have these. I have these gorgeous beauties that I want to add, these nice finial type ornaments. So I have a lot that I want to get up on the tree, but we're kind of getting to the point where we're running out of obvious branches just because we put so much floral in here. So I want to just point that out, because if you are going for this route, you might spend more money initially if you don't have the silks or whatever, the floral, the stems that you want. But you're going to spend money on that, but you don't need to spend as much money on ornaments, or if you do, just the ones that you really, really want, because you don't need a whole bunch of filler ones. So these ornaments here were purchased, these smaller ones were purchased with the intention of I mean, unclear and unsure at the time if I was going to have enough for my tree. These I'm going to definitely use somewhere, but I'm not sure if they're going to go on the tree. And I ultimately decided these aren't going on the tree. These might be going on the tree. These are definitely going to go on the tree. I definitely want these on the tree, but we'll see. We got all of the blue balls, all of the champagne balls. They're all of the solid ones that we were using as filler. I don't know if you guys can tell, but they are all in the tree already, as well as the green. Let's see if we can find, so there, oh yeah, so there's 6 of these total. About 4 have this gloss finish, and then 2 have this kind of matte finish on them, but they're just nice pops of green. But because they already had, literally before, like as I bought them, burgundy and essentially like a gold champagne glitter, I was like, oh my god, how could I not get them? So those are going to still stay. The only remaining green ornaments that I have are these onion ones, so I'm going to work on filling the tree in with at least the ornaments that I'm like most interested in making sure they get up. Putting ornaments up, how do you do it? How is it done by professionals? This is I'm assuming was a premium ornament. I bought it at a estate sale. From a very nice house with a clearly older lady that liked to decorate. The ornaments that I picked up from like these have cords. A lot of them even have like these simple cords on them. There is a reason manufacturers put those on. It's not just to annoy you, and it is to help you. Now you can use the regular ornament hooks if you want, or if yours don't have any. But let's talk about why and how the best ways to hang ornaments are on your tree. Now, for example, we're just gonna find an empty stem here. Now you could just hang that on there, and obviously that's not the ornament to go in that spot permanently anyways, but see how it's just hanging? That's not that's not a desirable look. In fact, here, let's take this and move this here. This is an easier spot to tell. So there's nothing wrong with that. It's fine. It's floating. It looks all right. It's okay. But the part of the reason the manufacturers have these cords, and if you watch a lot of the designers on YouTube, you'll see them doing this technique. And what they're doing is they're taking it and they're wrapping the ornament around the branch. So now it looks like it's pretty much part of that branch. It looks like it's an extension of that branch. It's very secure. It's not going anywhere. And it might take you an extra second or two to unravel it really quickly at the end of the season when you break your tree down. But generally speaking, it's going to be on very securely. It's not going to come off super easily like some of these do. Because I know I'm guilty of it too. When I use these and I'm at the end of the season and I know my whole tree is shatterproof, I'm just grabbing them and ripping the ornaments off. So that's, really not some of the most secure. Now you can get a secure, snug fit with your ornament and the traditional ornament hooks. You just need to break them up, not break them, but you need to essentially hook one end of the ornament on like you normally do, and then all of this remaining part needs to be wrapped around the branch to create that secured connection there. Because I don't know about you guys, but I have a house with 2 big dogs. I know a lot of you have kids, family, you got company coming over. So to me, it seems like a no-brainer to just spend the extra few moments while you're putting the tree together, especially if it's a tree that you're going to be leaving up for a couple months, like, I don't know, November through beginning of January or something. Why not just do it and make it secure? That's all I'm saying. Okay. And mini note. So overall, tree is coming together really lovely. We have all of the green ornaments up, all of the larger ornaments that are getting shoved in there, and then all of these beautiful kind of teardrop ornaments. This one here, we have the 2 styles. So you have this one down here that we got from lightbulbs.com, and then this that I picked up from an estate sale. You'll see them. There's not too many of them, but they're just scattered enough, and I really wanted to incorporate these, especially because they had like a nice kind of texture to them, pattern. They look gorgeous with our flourishes. They play off each other so well. And then, you know, even using some of the bigger ones towards the top, it just made sense. It just kind of blended in, and I liked that kind of angular look where it had the ornament, the burgundy amaranth, and then these kind of like blue navy plumes. I just liked how they cascaded together. So don't be afraid to break the rules and put some of the larger ornaments up top, because a lot of people say no, and I'm sure I've said it before too, but just you want to be able to see them and enjoy them. So if they're in a spot that flatters them and you like it, go for it. So I feel like this side of the tree needs a little bit more love, but generally speaking, we're doing really well. We have plenty of floral left to play with for filling in, so I'm not going to focus on that just yet. Especially the greens, we need to put the greens in, but I keep looking at the ornaments and being like, okay, which one are the ones that I really, really want to make sure I get in? So of the ones remaining, I really want to make sure these shatterproof textured balls are going to get in, and then these with you know, actual flourishes on them for a florals and flourish tree. Seems like we need to get these in there. So I'll be putting these on, and then anywhere where I need a little, I already have a lot of burgundy, I'm going to be putting in some of the champagne sparkles. And then maybe I'm going to go in with these. You know, they're really cool. I like them. I want them to work in this tree, but I probably won't use all of them. So like I said, focusing on the ornaments that we really, really want to have in the tree. So let me get these on and I'll show you how it looks. I don't think I can put any more ornaments on this tree. It is so full. I'm so lucky that I was able to find and source over the last year ornaments that really called to me and ones that I really liked. That way the limited ornaments that I do put on the tree are very thoughtful and ones that I love. So what's left? Well, I'll tell you, the last finishing details are going to be our florals, specifically our greens. We have a lot of greens that I want to work in. I have champagne fillers over here ready to go. So I'm going to go ahead and put that green in, but I just wanted to show you guys before the green is in. It looks beautiful, but I think we just need a few pops of color here and there. So that's what that green's going to do. So here's the tree before the green. Gorgeous tree. Lots of foliage, lots of floral. I wanted to talk to you guys about the green as I'm getting ready to put it in. So this is a green orchid stem that my friends at Shop Wild Things were kind enough to send to me to use in our tree just for that nice bright touch. And I thought, my navy orchids I love so much. They look so great in this tree. So having more orchids that also go with the theme that are similar but different are going to go together really well. And what I love about these is they have a nice long stem, but also they have a lot of nice like just natural movement to them. So they're really easy to work with in the tree. And when I get them on the tree, I know I could have them as a cascading down, or if I wanted them more upright, they're going to keep their shape and then just have that nice natural movement to them. Oh, I love them. I love them. You can see there's just a few of them. There's about 5 of them total mixed in. But you can tell there's just pops of beautiful bright green, which I think add a little freshness to this. And I absolutely think they look lovely in here. They're a definitely unique orchid anyways. So having them in here as this just nice extra drapery kind of area effect, whew, they look so pretty. And it makes sense a lot, especially with them naturally cascading. That's kind of the vibe that we're rocking here. So the next greenery that we're going to be adding, and I say greenery like it's actually greenery, it's just greenery picks. I have these that might go in, but I really want to work these in. These are green. They're picks. They're not really floral. They're picks, but they're just covered in glitter, and I think they're going to help fill in a few spots. Can you see them? There's just a few sprigs here and there of them mixed in, but they do add a nice amount of sparkle. And I have a handful of these left that I got from my local thrift store, my Boys and Girls Club. So I obviously had to put some glitter on them because Christmas. And so I'm going to mix these in. All right. So the greenery's in, the ornaments are in. I added some more of the poinsettias that I had in, mostly just to the sides. Nothing you could really see from the front except for maybe just a little bit here and there on the edging. But most of it was just tucking in some spots towards the bottom. So I think one of the final things we need to do is add some of our smaller filler. I'm probably not going to use too much of this as much as I love this. It's a little thick. So we have this nice champagne fern that I had previously kind of cut up, and some of them are cut, some of them aren't. So these are really nice and dainty. I also have these just kind of beads, beaded. I guess they're kind of like pearl. They're not really pearl, but they're kind of gold, like finishes. It's a little darker than the champagne, but I think it'll be a nice contrast. And these beauties I found in the trash, so that's great. And then I have these very wavy and organic picks that I have had for a little while. They're gonna probably go in. So we're just gonna play with texture and make sure we have a lot of different ones. And I also have these that have kind of like this nice pearl, like creamy finish with them. And it's a little bit too light to be champagne, so I'll probably skip them. And then I still have these, these are from my Bridgerton tablescape from the spring. And I'm trying to add them in here and there. It's just a weird, here, this is where I was going to add one, and I'll show you guys. It looks pretty, but there's already so much going on in the tree. Like a little bit isn't that big of a deal, but I just want to make sure I'm putting them in the right spot. So I will add some of this. We can't add all of this probably to this tree, and then I'll show you what it looks like. Well, I think that calls it for our tree decorating elements. We might put the spirals on from this green, but I was looking at it, I was like, I just don't see a spot where I think they could fit. This tree is maxed out. I love so much about it. I'm really glad that I added the ribbon flourishes in the bottom originally, so that way I could add layers on top of them. So they're hidden. Like when I stand back and I look at the tree, I can see a few of them, but it's really when I get close where I start seeing all of the layers come together. And that's, I think, what makes this tree so magical. But having just the gold pops, the appliques that I spray painted and wired in, those hovering on the edge of those branches are just so cool. When you stand back, they kind of get lost, but it's so pretty. I love them. It makes it look extra fancy. Oh, here's another one. This whole cluster right here, the navy, the burgundy, the flourish, the magnolia with the glitter. Even the bigger ones, I wasn't sure how they were gonna sit on the tree, but they are just so natural, and because of the shapes of the ones that we got, they're flourishes, right? Like that's just what they're supposed to do. And if I want to, I can change the angle on them, no problem. It's just such an unexpected thing that I didn't plan on ever using. I never saw these and thought, we should put these on our Christmas tree. But I am so glad that I did, because they're so easy to work with. I can manipulate them however I want. And with having such an emphasis on floral this year, and the picks, and not just floral, obviously there's more than flowers here. We have foliage and, essentially fantasy stems and picks and glitter. This is crazy gorgeous. I can't wait to put all of the finishing touches on here. It's just going to look gorgeous. I know when it's all cleaned up, and I already have a cute idea in mind here, because I have some apple green chairs that I think we're just gonna make this into a whole little moment here. So I'm really excited about that. And having this backdrop behind it just makes it 10 times cooler, and I'm so glad I put that in. I have an angled ceiling, so it's really hard to figure out what to put behind the trees anyways, but this is high enough where your eye, it's not, let's see, that's a 7.5 foot tree, so I think we probably have those up probably close to 8.5, 9 feet tall. So it's above your natural eye line, so you're not really registering the differential up here. I'm really fortunate that like I have those ceilings where it doesn't really matter. But even if you had like a normal, let's say like 8 or 9 foot ceiling and you just brought this all the way to the top, it would look gorgeous. So, and it's such an easy way that doesn't really take up a lot of space, because you're already essentially using that space and designating it for the tree. This is such an easy thing to put up behind your tree for that like crazy wow moment and change your house for the season. So I am just so thankful that Top Wheel Things treated me to that and sent me the pipe and drape base kit. I did the drapery, but they have really pretty drapery too. I just had the drapery. And then, oh, those lights. I mean, are they not perfect? So I'm gonna clean up a little bit out here, consolidate some of my piles that are left over, and then we're gonna work on our little vignette and our tree skirt. And here we are, the finished look. We got some napping puppies under the tree area. We got our beautiful sequin skirt, which was a no-sew tablecloth DIY from last year. But look at this tree, you guys. I mean, it is gorgeous with a backdrop and all of the beautiful color combinations. I really think the burgundy, navy, and champagne is just, you can't go wrong with it. It's beautiful. The toppers are gorgeous, and I think the florals and flourishes really come through as the theme of the tree, and I think that's very apparent here, from literally having gorgeous orchids and magnolias and poinsettias and amaranth in here to billowing corkscrew ribbon flourishes. We have literal flourishes like what you see here to the right of the screen that we DIY'd. I mean, it's just a nice tree. It's beautiful, and for those of you who aren't crazy into ornaments, I think this is an alternative way to make a beautiful Christmas tree with very few to minimal ornaments. So, I've talked enough. I'm going to just let you enjoy with some nice relaxing music. Thank you guys so much for watching, and if you want to see more Christmas, check out my Christmas playlist.